Perhaps, like me, you have long been interested in beavers and other keystone species. A keystone species is one that has a large impact on its ecosystem relative to the biomass of the keystone species. As with beavers, other keystone species are able to manipulate the ecosystem to their own benefit. Beavers are well known for their ability to manipulate ecosystems to their advantage. They are famous for building dams that serve as homes for them and their families, present and future. They are especially renowned in the southwestern United States for their work in rivers and streams that traverse deserts. I was not surprised to see an article headlined, "Beavers were brought to the desert to save a dying river. 6 years later, here are the results." The article was published the 1st of July this year in Upworthy. Here's the subhead, quote, "Their engineering feats are pretty damn incredible," end quote. That's damn with a D-A-M. The story at Upworthy begins with these two paragraphs, quote, "It's not easy being a river in the desert under the best of circumstances. The ecosystem exists in a very delicate balance, allowing water sources to thrive in the harsh conditions. These water sources in otherwise extremely dry areas are vital to the survival of unique wildlife, agriculture, and even tourism, as they provide fresh drinking water for the people who live nearby. But man-made problems like climate change, over-farming, and pollution have made a tough job even tougher in some areas. Rivers in Utah and Colorado that are part of the Colorado River Basin have been barely surviving the extremely harsh drought season. When the riverbeds get too dry, fish and other aquatic creatures die off and the wildfire risk increases dramatically." End quote. All this information is well known to those of us who have spent significant time in the deserts of the southwestern U.S. Less well known is the potential role of beavers in positively manipulating these fragile systems. The Upworthy article continues with the first of 3 sections in the article. It is titled, quote, "About 6 years ago, one team of researchers had a fascinating idea to restore the health of some of Utah's most vulnerable rivers. Bring in the beavers," end quote. This is hardly a new idea, although the idea is probably new to many people, especially beyond the southwestern U.S. Progressive managers and researchers of southwestern riparian areas have been touting beavers as ecosystem engineers for several decades. The story at Upworthy continues with a description of a research project leading to application of the research. Quote, "In 2019, master's student Emma Doden and a team of researchers from Utah State University began a translocation project to bring displaced beavers to areas like Utah's Price River in the hopes of bringing it back to life. Why beavers? It just makes damn sense." Parenthetically, sorry for the D-A-M. Beaver dams restrict the flow of water in some areas of a river, creating ponds and wetlands. In drought-stricken areas, fish and other wildlife can take refuge in the ponds while the rest of the river runs dry, thus riding out the danger until it rains again. When beavers are present in a watershed, the benefits are unbelievable. Better water quality, healthier fish populations, better nutrient availability, and fewer or less severe wildfires. It's why beavers have earned the title of keystone species, or any animal that has a disproportionate impact on the ecosystem around them. Doden and her team took beavers who were captured or removed from their original homes due to being a nuisance, interfering with infrastructure, or being in danger, and, after a short period of quarantine, were brought to the Price River. Despite the research team's best efforts, not all the translocated beavers have survived or stayed put over the years. Some have trouble adapting to their new home and die off or are killed by predators, while others leave of their own accord. But enough have stayed and built dams since 2019 that the team is starting to see the results of the effort. In fact, beaver projects just like this one have been going on all over the state in recent years. End quote. The second of 3 sections is titled, quote, "The water levels in the river are now the healthiest they've been in years. The fish are thriving. Residents of Utah are overjoyed at the results of the experiment," end quote. Again, this is hardly a new discovery, at least within the American Southwest. However, it is good to see these results reported in a positive manner by a media outlet that is widely known. The article continues with information from a newspaper that is widely distributed. Quote, a column in the Salt Lake Tribune from 2025, parenthetically, 6 years after the Beaver translocation began, writes that the revitalization of the Price River helped save our Utah town. A tributary of the Colorado River, the Price River runs through downtown Helper. On a warm day, you're likely to find the river filled with tourists and locals kayaking, tubing, and fishing along its shore. A decade ago, it was hard to imagine this scene, and the thriving recreation economy that comes with it was possible. Of course, it wasn't just beavers. Other federal water cleanup investments helped remove debris, break down old and malfunctioning dams, and place tighter regulations on agriculture grazing in the area that depleted vital plant life. But the experts know that the beavers and their incredible engineering work are the real MVPs. End quote. The final section is titled, quote, in other dying, struggling rivers in the area, researchers are bringing in beavers and even creating man-made beaver dams. They're hoping that the critters will take over the job as the rivers get healthier, end quote. The section begins with this sentence, quote, Utah's San Rafael River, which is in bleak condition, is a prime candidate. In one area of the river, a natural flood inspired a host of beavers to return to the area, end quote. According to a local FM radio station, quote, riparian habitat along that stretch had increased by 230%, and it had the most diverse flow patterns of anywhere on the river, end quote. The bottom line comes in the final two sentences, quote, it's hard to believe that beavers nearly went extinct during the heyday of the fur trapping industry and continued to struggle as they were considered nuisances and pests. Now they're getting the respect they deserve as engineer marvels, and their populations have rebounded due to better PR and conservation programs. To that I say, it's about damn time, end quote. It's not difficult for me, quote, to believe that beavers nearly went extinct during the heyday of the fur trapping industry and continued to struggle as they were considered nuisances and pests, end quote. Considering the collective actions of more than 8 billion people on this pale blue dot, I'm surprised we haven't driven all life to extinction. Sadly, I suspect that won't take much longer.